Hey, y'all. Hey, welcome back to another episode of And Another Thing podcast with Dr. Tosh. I am your host, Dr. Tasha, and I'm super excited and delighted to bring you yet another episode that will help us grow and thrive together. So, listen, today's topic is healing from trauma. Yep, healing from trauma. Many of us go through life not even recognizing the trauma that has impacted our mind and our body. Yep. And because we are impacted, we are affected. Trauma affects the way that we make decisions and the way we move about every single day. It's the invisible source behind many of our decisions. We just don't realize it. The reason we do what we do, how we do what we do, why we make some decisions over other things, trauma. And today, we're going to take a deep dive into it, right? As Black women, our intersections, being Black and a woman, we are political, the entire being of us. We're political creatures because our intersections, being Black and being a woman, lands us in a place where trauma has been a source of contention in our community, especially when it goes unaddressed. So let's delve in because, like you say, like Dr. Tosh, what are we doing? Why? But why? But why? But why? Let's just start by trauma is not just what happens to us, it's how our minds and bodies respond to an overwhelming event or events. The way that I like to categorize it is anything that overwhelms my ability to cope can be traumatic. Anything that overwhelms my ability to cope can be trauma, right? And so, what does that mean, Dr. Tosh, right? And so, this is why trauma cannot be defined as a single event. So, it's not, when I say that, I mean, it's not just car accidents. It's not just sudden illness. It's not just death. It can be workplace. It can be relational. It can be sudden illness. It can be communal, right? Urban trauma. It can be so many things, and trauma differs from one person to another. So what may be traumatic to my sister may not be traumatic to me. Trauma overwhelms our ability to cope. And guess where we get the ability to cope from? Other events in our lives that we have overcome. Trauma, especially PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, really comes from our past experiences and building resistance. How do we build resistance? Continue to overcome. Seriously. I mean, it's that simple. In real layman terms, it's the truth. So, trauma isn't just, like I said, in our minds, it is stored in our bodies. So we're not always able to verbalize, this is what happened to me and this is why I do that. But because it's stored in our body sends us signals when we are doing something right or when we're in areas that may be gray, or even when we're doing something wrong. Our nervous system is meant to protect us. And so it's trying to protect us, even if we're doing something right. I know I've said a mouthful. Let's just break it down to understanding trauma, right? So for Black women, trauma is often layered. As I said, it's personal, it's cultural, it's historical. The effects of slavery, systemic racism, and sexism is still a thing today in 2025. And it shapes our experiences in the ways we don't always realize it. Trauma cracks the lens in which we see and do life. What do you mean? If you have trauma that's been unhealed and unprocessed, you have a different outlook on life. I use the analogy of lens because I'm a glasses wearer. And so now my glasses are clean, but if they had cracks in them due to traumatic experiences, the way I see life would be through a cracked lens. And that's what trauma does to us. It shifts and breaks the lens in which we see and do life. And so, how we interact with people, how we read people, how we read certain energy, what we say yes to, what we say no to, how we develop healthy and unhealthy coping skill. It does it all because how we see a situation is how we will react to a situation. So, what does trauma look like, right? So, if we are in an unhealthy relationship that makes us overcompensate, where we are looking for external validation, where we could have anxious attachment to someone, where we have been misused or abused, where we have been gaslit, emotionally abused, and heaven forbid, physically abused, that is traumatic. And that changes the way we see and do life, and that changes the way in which we respond to people and circumstances afterwards. One of the largest, biggest trauma responses that I see is the big C. The big C, this is C. The big C. Control. Control is a trauma response. Why, Dr. Taj, is control a trauma response? Control is a trauma response because control is an illusion. We have no control. We have control over nothing. That's why we spin our wheels creating anxiety and worry, trying to control an outcome. Because that's our nervous system saying, I'm not calm unless I can control outcomes. And when I can control outcomes, that's when I can be emotionally regulated. But I got something to tell you. Can I burst your bubble for a minute? Control doesn't exist. It causes that anxiety and it keeps us spinning, right? Control is a result of our nervous system saying, I've encountered a traumatic experience. I've been caught off guard before, and I'm never, ever going to feel that way again. So subconsciously, we try to control situations, people, outcomes, environments, because our nervous system says, I will not be caught off guard again. Say ouch if you can hear me. Many of us struggle with control, wanting to control outcome, people, environments, when in reality, what's going to be is going to be, because control is an illusion. Control isn't the same thing as making preparation. That's different. We can prepare, we can be safe, we can take precaution, but control does not exist. God is the only one in control. And so take a moment, right? I want you to begin to think of areas where you've tried to control some things and it just didn't work out. We land in disappointment. We're upset. We're frustrated. And then we move on to try to control the next thing. When really, trauma is saying, I didn't like that. And now I'm going to try to fix it along any instance that I may have in life. I'm going to try to fix it in this area. And it's not the truth. Like I said, it just doesn't exist. So we go through these emotional, mental hoops, gymnastics through our minds, thinking that we can control it, and we can't. But we can heal from our trauma. Because trauma will stop you dead in your tracks. Trauma will try to keep you safe. And we know thus far, at least traveling with me and journeying with me, that nothing substantial, life-changing, monumental happens in a comfort zone. It's not until we step out of our comfort zone where we can fully begin to grow and heal and change some things. So trauma keeps us stuck. And we can operate sometimes without knowing in self-sabotage because we stay in our comfort zone. Purpose is not in your comfort zone. It's outside of it. It's being big. It's taking charge of saying, this is what I was made to do, and I'm about to do it. That's cool, right? So I've said a lot. And as I'm speaking, I hope that you are getting something to say. Now, what have I gone through that I have not fully addressed? What have I gone through that I kind of pushed down and created this bubble for me to live in so that I'm safe, so that this never, ever happens again? That thing that comes to your mind, the thing you've never told anyone, the thing you've never faced, that's what we need to address in order to thrive. Because right now we've just made ourselves comfortable in surviving. But really, the fullness of life is in thriving. So what, Dr. Tasha, are you telling me to do? Get help, go to therapy, talk to somebody, find a trauma therapist if you have to. Listen, heal the version of you that's stuck to the thing that happened to you. I must say this. What happened to you isn't your fault, but healing is your responsibility, and it's doggone sure your birthright. You deserve to be whole, healed, and walking in purpose. You deserve it. You deserve to live in the fullness of God. You deserve to operate a cut above the rest because you've been called to do just that. Sis, this is the season where we gather ourselves. We're gathering ourselves to do better and to be greater. We want to leave a legacy that's beyond this moment right here. You know that thing you've been called to do? You know that thing that you get excited about every time you see a commercial? Every time Instagram hits on a post, you're like, yes, I felt that. Come on now. You know it and I know it too, but you never take action on it. That's the thing I want you to live in. So we must examine what's keeping us stuck. And sometimes it is trauma. Trauma can also cause limiting beliefs. And if we believe and add value to those limiting beliefs, we stay stuck. If our mind is not open to abundance and possibilities, we'll stay and we'll continue to play small. Well, sis, if you stumbled across this podcast, you will know Dr. Tasha don't play small. We going for everything that God's got for us. So we're healing along the way and we're grabbing hold of purpose along the way. So this is just really the tip of the iceberg on many, many traumas that affect us each and every day. As I say, they play out in our decisions because the first thing that our nervous system wants to do is keep us safe. So it's easy to say, no, I can't do that. No, I don't want to do that. No, that seems scary. Listen, get you some help. You can journal. Like I said, if you're not in therapy, get you a good therapist and do the hard work. Ask yourself the hard questions. First, acknowledge your pain. Acknowledge that you too have been traumatized by something. It's okay. And I don't care how much social media talks about trauma and how much of a buzzword that it has become. It's a real thing. So in that real thing, we need to acknowledge that it's a real thing. And it shapes our identity, but it doesn't have to. We can learn to live healthy lives with processed trauma, putting trauma where it belongs, but shifting from surviving to thriving. I want to see you thrive. I want to see you write the book. I want to see you have the podcast. I want to see you open businesses. I want to see you do poetry. I want to see you do the thing that God calls you to do. But first, we must get well. We must build resilience because guess what? Life is life. Life will life, but God will God. It doesn't matter what we go through. It doesn't matter the things that we encountered. It doesn't matter that God still has hope and a destiny for us, and we need to go get it. We need to go get just that. And there is nothing on this earth that will keep us from doing what God has called us to do. Okay? I love to hear from you. Listen, you can hit me up at info@drnatashabooker.com. You can hit me up on social media. I love to hear from you. Listen, the reviews have been coming in and you guys are just blessing my heart. But listen, it's time for us to shake and move. So listen, like, follow, share. Like, follow, share. Like, follow, share. Until next time, I'm your girl, Dr. Tasha. This is where we heal and thrive together. I can't wait to talk to you next.